Hello you beautiful people, and welcome to yet another trip down that sweet lane of gaming memories, where me and a bunch of mates talk about some of our fondest memories when it comes to this wonderful hobby we call gaming. So strap in as we regale you with our tales of wonder, excitement, and mischief. And I'll get the ball rolling. Now, I consider myself to be a kind individual overall, but there are moments where the evil just bubbles to the surface the odd time, and mostly when I'm gaming. And no memory comes to mind quite like the one I lived with MotorStorm Apocalypse. Boy oh boy, was I certainly a cunt in this game one particular night. So there I was playing a few online races while in a monster truck, winning the odd one and losing many others. Until someone came on with a mic. Now, I had mine on too, but we hadn't talked to each other as we geared up for the next race. Not a single word. Now, I stuck with the monster truck, and this poor fecker picked a motorcycle. And when in the first lap, I took him out twice. The first time he grumbled, the second time his frustration was clear as day. He went from like 20 on the first takeout to 100 on the next. The level of overreaction was kinda baffling. Now, I had three options. Could have said sorry, and it's just part of the game, which probably would have been the sensible option. Option 2 is I could have stayed quiet and not engaged. But I didn't do that. Instead, I picked option 3, because his pure overreaction of getting run over twice unlocked that evil, little, giddy side of me. So I laughed. I laughed a lot. And man, his temper got even worse somehow, and rather than stop my laughing, I felt I was entirely justified to continue in my small descent towards villainy. I made it my mission to crush this man during this race as much as I could. Winning didn't matter anymore. I wanted to make this fella suffer, and with each time I got him, I laughed. And the vitriol he spewed at me just further cemented me on this weird power trip I was experiencing. I hounded him. Every time I got him, I'd slow down to wait for him to respawn so I could continue the hunt again. I can't recall how many times I got him distinctly off the top of my head, but it was a lot, and I was happily drowning in the pleasure his misery brought me. In fairness to the fella, he stuck it out that whole race and then dropped out. But not before calling me everything under the sun, a bit uncalled for in my opinion. But I just laughed it off, egging him on more. And you know what? I'm not sorry I did it one bit. I really enjoyed ruining this man's night. I'm not sure if I should be ashamed of the ecstasy that coursed through me that fateful race, bringing that much anger out of someone. But I had my fun, and that's all that matters. Now on to my first buddy, who hopefully doesn't have as psychotic a gaming memory as me.
In every young man, there is a hint of fear from his childhood, something that moves and guides his thoughts, something that governs what he knows about life. And that thing for me was Lu Bu in Dynasty Warriors 4 and also 3, but 3 you got to avoid him a little better. Dynasty Warriors is a game about the Three Kingdoms period that I am deeply in love with. I have been playing Dynasty Warriors since I was 6 years old. Dynasty Warriors 3 was my first game with my cousin. We used to enjoy playing the versus mode all the time. However, there was one thing that always happened in the early game. As you know, a lot of old video games were a lot less kind to people when you didn't know how to play the game or the mechanics of the game. Nowadays, you get to play a lot of easier games where you're kind of rewarded for just being decent at it. Beforehand, there were just certain things you didn't do. You do not pursue Lu Bu, and I'll tell you why. It takes that guy like 5 swacks at your character, who you just started the game with, because this is like the second level. It's the Yellow Turbans first, when they have their rebellion in China. Then it's Hulao Gate with Dong Zhuo, and Lu Bu's just standing there, menacingly, ready to whack you to death. 1, 2, 3, 4, dead. You run back up again. 1, 2, 3, 4, dead. You run back up again. 1, 2, super mode. Super button. Muso mode. Counter automatically. It used to be the worst. Now, there were ways of getting around it, or you could have been an idiot and accidentally challenged him to a duel. You are in a 1v1, so it makes you feel a little better that nobody else can shift the odds, but all you did was lock yourself in a gate with a rabid dog. He will just beat you worse inside of the duel. Occasionally, I think I've won the duel once or twice with characters who kind of hit a little bit harder. You could juggle him when you know what you're doing, but typically you will just find yourself in a really tough patch, and it's not worth it. It says don't pursue him. Don't pursue him. Just run away. And if you think you can hit him and then run away, I hope you're ready for him to chase you across the entire map, because that used to be a part of my fears too when I was a child. I would run, swag Lubu, kind of a little bit out of pettiness, and then also just to see if I could take him at the time. Then realize I couldn't. Realize I don't have a horse, so he is just following behind me, like the IRS is following behind you when you don't pay your taxes. Walking, slowly, menacingly, right behind you. You can feel him over your neck. If you turn around while running, he will hit you. You keep running till you see that pot that has that health in it. Do not pursue Lubu. Don't challenge him to a duel. Definitely, most definitely, do not fight his girlfriend on the stage. Her name is Diao-chan. If you do that, you are going to give this guy, who I have already described as a monster who can kill you in 5 swags, an attack buff and a defense buff. I don't remember if the game gave him a speed buff. I don't think it did. But you'll just enrage him, and you'll ensure that he'll chase you not only through part of the map, because beforehand it was just part of the map, and then he'd call you a weakling for run away. But now, the whole map. Don't fight him.
Hi everyone, this is Myubae and welcome to FR&MES channel. Huge thank you and shout out to Pat for including me in his new Gaming Memories collaboration episode. So let's talk about my gaming memories. When coming up with a gaming memory, there's so many of them that I can think of, but it's so hard to narrow it down. There's this one time when I fell in love with Mario Kart and that became my comfort game. Or maybe the time I had my mom play her very first video game. Or maybe the time I played Overcooked 2 with my cousin. Or even go to the San Diego Zoo with my boyfriend and check out the Pikmin San Diego Zoo collaboration. Oh, I know! What about that one time I went to my very first video game convention? Yeah. Let's talk about that one. In the month of June 2024, I attended my first ever video game convention. The convention is called SoCal Gaming Expo. So SoCal Gaming Expo is located in Pasadena, California. So for those who don't know me, I love going to conventions. I consider myself a con goer and I love meeting new people. So, SoCal Gaming Expo is a great place to browse and shop for video games, or play console, arcade, tabletop games, or check out the vendor hall, even cosplayers and cosplay in general, and many more. My favorite part is creating new friendships. There's so many new things going on at the con, and you'll not get bored at all. So why is attending SoCal Gaming Expo memorable for me? Let me tell you why. So there's 3 reasons. 1, retail therapy for gamers. 2, meeting new and old friends. And 3, getting to meet a content creator that I look up to. So one of my favorite highlights of attending SoCal Gaming Expo has to be meeting David Vink RPGs. David is such a cool guy. We briefly chatted. He shared with me some of the games he found. We took a selfie and hugged. I felt really nervous when I first met him, but it was cool. It's a memory that I will never forget. But David, if you're watching this, continue being awesome, and I hope we get to meet at another con someday. And there you have it. Thanks, Pat, for having me, and I hope you all have a great day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you all next time, maybe over at my channel. Bye!
Hello everybody, my name is Naoise and I'm one half of the retro video game podcast Press Any Button to Continue. And my fond gaming memory, there's kind of a few of them I'm after sneaking in here, but it's about one game in particular. and it's The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time for the Nintendo 64. One of the highest regarded games of all time, a lot of people's favourite game, mine included. I have a couple of really cool memories from playing this back in the day. So I do remember the first time walking out of Kokiri village and walking into, I think I said that right, I hope I did, and walking into Hyrule Field, and just that feeling of expanse and wonder and oh wow, this game is huge, and that sense of adventure hit me, and it was a really mind-blowing moment back then. I don't think I had experienced a game of its stature back then, so it was a really cool moment and really powerful moment for me. I also remember the water temple. I know it's notorious amongst Ocarina of Time fans, but I remember getting stuck, as many people have, playing through the video game and getting to the water temple. I couldn't get past a certain part, and I had a magazine at the time. It was an old Nintendo magazine, as far as I remember. It was given guides, so each month it would give you a certain section of the game. I remember I had a couple of copies of this magazine, and it brought me up to the water temple, but didn't actually cover the water temple. So I got stuck and had to wait about a month until the next magazine came out, because I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't get past where I needed to go, and said, okay, I'm gonna just wait for this next episode of the magazine to come out, and then I'll be able to get past the water temple. And I can remember going up to the shop, getting the magazine, and then finally being able to progress. I think it was, there's an area in the middle of the water temple where, you know, when the water level is rising, I think there's like a hook shot up in the corner, and that's what I couldn't find. I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't see it. And I think, as far as I remember, that's what I got stuck on. But I just remember the feeling of finally reading the magazine, reading the guide, and going, aha. That aha moment and being able to progress was very, very cool. And then another kind of funny thing is the gold sculptulas, or what I used to call them, sculptulas. I for some reason thought that's what they were called. My old save file, which I still have, my original save file, I had 97 gold sculptulas, and I remember kind of thinking maybe I had broken the game and I couldn't get all 100 because I couldn't figure it out. I know when you go onto the map, each area in the map, I think the little red dot will glow, states where like the next one is, or as far as I remember. But I remember looking in a certain area and I couldn't figure it out, and I basically had convinced myself that I had broken the game and that I wasn't able to finish the 100 gold sculptulas. Maybe I thought that I had killed one of the spiders or whatever and not collected the token and moved on, and then I just couldn't go back there. So I left it for like 18, 20 years, and then I eventually went back a few years ago. The same save file was there, and I used that save file, and I used a guide to figure out, okay, what sculptures have I got left? And I think I actually had to go through a good few of them to figure out where it was and which ones I needed. But eventually I managed to get the last 3 and break the curse on the family. And it was a real full circle moment for me after so many years, say nearly 20 years of playing this game and this one save file, that I finally managed to collect all 100 and break the curse. That for me was a really, really cool moment. So there's a lot of really fond memories for me. Legendary Legend of Zelda. That's a I could have used a different word to describe it there, but the fantastic Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time on the Nintendo 64, my favourite video game of all time. So many people's favourite video game of all time. So that's it from me. Thanks everybody, and have a good day.
It's hard to choose just one, but I think my favorite gaming memory has to be the time I 100%ed the first Resident Evil, specifically the HD remaster of the GameCube remake. Truthfully, I was a bit of a latecomer to the Resident Evil series because I didn't have much experience with these games until sometime in 2017 when I saw Capcom was having a sale. So I picked up a few titles like the DMC and Strider reboots, and also figured I'd see what the fuss was about and pick up Resident Evil as well. With the other games, I knew exactly what to expect because I had played other Devil May Cry and action games before, but never a proper survival horror, so Resident Evil was a new experience to me. And I want to say I knew this game's entire map inside and out by the end of the day I started playing it. I just loved everything about it, from exploring Spencer Mansion to solving puzzles and rationing supplies to picking and choosing which battles to fight. I'm not even a particularly big fan of zombie stories, but I found myself in love with this game's plot and captured by every member of STARS. Jill Valentine, Chris Redfield, Barry Wesker, everyone. There's also an enchanting eeriness to this game that I think Capcom just won't top for me. Nothing will beat that creepy feeling of coming across those notes left by survivors who managed to hold out from the T-virus just a bit longer than the others. Or that uncertain feeling you'd get from limping to a safe room with just a bit of health left and hearing that save room theme. It's calming because you'd finally have a brief respite from the horror, but haunting all the same because you knew sooner or later you would have to face it again. It was so exciting playing through this game for the first time, and I tell you, I've never felt more accomplished with a video game than the time I finally saw everything this one had to offer and was rewarded with a letter by the game's director, Shinji Mikami, that thanked the fans who put in the effort to do such a thing. Yeah, it's just a great game all around. I remember bugging my friends about how great a game it was and how underrated Resident Evil is, even though it's been one of, if not the biggest gaming horror franchise for 2 decades at that point. I've become a huge fan of survival horror since, and I think there are better games in the genre, but my love for Resident Evil and its contemporaries starts here. I've finished this game a dozen times in the past, and I'm gonna finish it a dozen more times in the future.
And that's everyone's gaming memories, from the unforgettable force of nature known as Lubu, to getting to meet people through this medium we all love, or just falling off the rails and slipping into the path of pure villainy to inflict as much pain on others in a race. I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I did making it. Hearing everyone's gaming memories has become a serious highlight for me over these last few months of doing these videos, as it's really fucking cool hearing everyone's moments they have had with games. And if you guys have any gaming memories to share, I'd love to hear them. Special thanks to my buddies who reminisced with me today. Without them, these videos would be nowhere near as special. And also, go check them out, seriously cool people who make seriously cool shit. Well, until next time friends, take her handy.